Hello, welcome to the third lecture of the course Introduction to Literature. This lecture is about the form of prose, short story, novella and novel. These are the three important forms of prose writings. To start with, I explain about the characteristic features of the literary form short story. A short story has a plot. A plot in a short story is expected to be crisp. It's a short plot. Usually a short story form has a beginning, middle and end, and there are characters in the short story. The characterization in the short story need not always be typical. A short story may not also follow the form of a beginning, middle and end. The characterization in a short story may be in the form of a protagonist and some minor characters. Usually there are the themes which are given in the short story. The themes which are followed in a short story are one or two layered themes. The narrative in a short story may be a linear narrative. It may be the incidents following one after another, or the narrative may be superimposed narrative, or narrative being written upon another, and so on. Sometimes there may be a story within a story arranged within another story. These are some of the characteristic features of a short story. An example, an oft-quoted example of a short story is Catherine Mansfield, A Cup of Tea. Now, I start with the next literary form, which is the novel. So, the novel, which as a literary form which began with the 18th century, it is a long narrative. It is a story which is told in a long narrative, and the characterization in a novel is the plot is built up around a protagonist, some major characters, and spread upon their lives and events occurring in a few minor characters. So, the plot in a novel is vast. So, it is narrated through pages and pages, and the novel is known for its characteristic feature of being a lengthy narrative. The narrative structure in a novel may be a simple straightforward narrative or a linear narrative, or it can be a flash forward or a flash backward technique. It can be new forms of narrative structures began in the 20th century. The form of novel or the narrative of the novel was shaped through the forms such as stream of consciousness and the technique of interior monologue. The most famous, some of the most famous examples of novels are Jane Austen's Emma, George Eliot's Silas Marner, Virginia Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway, and so on. Some of the 20th century novels are as follows: James Joyce's A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, and James Joyce's Ulysses. The next literary form is novella. The novella is a prose narrative which is a longer short story. A short story which is longer, and but it is shorter than a novel. It is a narrative which is, which tells a story, or the narrative carries a story in pages which is lengthier than a short story. A novella has a plot and a character and characterization. The plot of a novella is unique in that it addresses some critical moment, it addresses some critical point, and the story revolves around, or the story follows around a critical point, and it talks about, it ends with the exposition, it ends with the solution or solving of the particular crisis with which the novella begins. Now the crisis may be, it may be a critical one, it may be a tragic, or it may be even a comic situation which triggers something into action, which triggers the plot into action, and the story is completed, or the story ends with, the novella ends with the solution of the crisis. So one of the most famous examples of novella is Edgar Allan Poe's The Monkey's Paw. Hello, welcome to the lecture on the course Introduction to Literature. So in this lecture, I am going to introduce the topic, the literary form, which has been given in the first unit in the syllabus of the paper, Introduction to Literature. So introduction, the literary form which is going to be discussed in this video lesson is drama. So drama as a literary form, it originated in as early as 4th century BC with the Greek and the Roman drama, which is called as the classical drama. So drama as a literary form can be divided into 3 types: comedy, tragedy and tragicomedy. So for the definitions for drama, Aristotle's Poetics I have followed Aristotle's Poetics as a prescriptive text for definitions on drama and its types. So drama as an enactment. Drama is an enactment. There is a plot for each dramatic performance. Aristotle defines drama as a performance on stage which aims at, which wants to bring an emotional purgation, an emotional relief to the audience. According to Aristotle, another characteristic feature of drama, according to Aristotle, is plot. Plot means the storyline or the story with which the play is set into action. A drama has an exposition, a climax and a denouement. These are the 3 parts in a drama, in the plot of a drama. The first type of drama is a comedy. A comedy is a play with a happy ending. The plot ends with a happy note. The dramatist aims at bringing laughter. The dramatist aims at raising a roar of laughter in the audience through the plot of comedy. So one of the most famous example for 20th century comedy is G.B. Shaw's The Pygmalion. The next type of drama is tragedy. Tragedy is a play with a sad ending. Tragedy is a play, is a drama which ends with a tragic note. A drama which ends with a tragic note. The plot of the tragedy is very much dependent upon the protagonist, the hero, who according to Aristotle has a grand soul, but with a hamartia or a fatal flaw, which makes the protagonist face a tragic end in the end of the play. Some examples, the famously known Shakespearean tragedies, which is famously called as the four great tragedies, are as follows: King Lear, Othello, Macbeth, and Hamlet. The next type of dramatic form is a tragicomedy. A tragicomedy is defined as a play with a happy and a sad note. A tragicomedy has a combination of tragic and comic elements. The play has an up and a down in terms of the note of emotion which the play arouses in the audience. It's a combination of tragic and comic elements. The play tragicomedy introduced certain novel forms of dramatic properties or dramatic techniques on stage. For example, songs, for example, plot which is set in unreal, and plot which is set in magical settings, plot which is set in imaginative settings. These are some of the characteristic features, some of the novelties which tragicomedy brought into action or introduced onto stage. So the most famous example of tragicomedy was Shakespeare's The Tempest. Thank you.